Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our name reveal program. Thanks for joining us to celebrate our new name and new services for Norfolk and the surrounding communities. I'm Austin Haygood, president of the Norfolk Area Chamber of Commerce, and your host for this morning's program. I'm excited for everyone to hear about the changes coming in 2022 for public transportation.
Good morning. For all of our out-of-town visitors, the weather is like this about 12 months of the year. So, very excited to be here this morning, and thank you for joining us. This is an effort that I'm very enthusiastic about because I've seen it grow from its infancy, from the existing program and partners that came to us about 3 years ago and said we need to do some work to make this system more accessible and more available and more usable to people throughout the community. And those discussions evolved and the partnerships got bigger. More and more people bought into this, and here we are today. And you see behind me what will be more and more prevalent throughout the community as we bring on a bigger fleet and we increase service to Norfolkans of all stripes. So there's a lot of people to thank, and I'm not going to go through the list. I think that's part of the program here. But I do want to acknowledge Steve Ramus, our City Public Works Director, who has a lot of experience, personal experience in transit, and has helped bring that expertise to the table to spearhead this effort to get where we are today and to guide this program into the future. And of course, the board of Norfolk Area Public Transit, that includes many partners throughout the community, have all put skin in the game to make this go. And I'm proud to say that the City of Norfolk is an active and willing partner in all of this. In fact, we're willing to put our money where our mouth is because we recognize the value of public transit. A lot of times in these conversations we think of mass transit, public transit in urban settings, right? But it's just as, or even more important in rural communities. And we're seeing that just with the reforms that have been made within the last couple of years in area transit. We've had, and correct me if I'm wrong on this number, Steve, but we've had an increase of 255% in ridership. That's pretty incredible. With the basic reforms that have been made thus far, with the limited fleet that we've done. And now we're at the outset of doing a lot more. And part of that is acquisition of new buses, the new marketing and branding. And so the City Council was asked just yesterday formally to make a financial commitment to help this go and help this move forward. And I'm glad to say that unanimously the City Council voted to approve about $310,000 to acquire the buses needed to get this program off the ground and to provide money for the first year's operational costs of the newly revamped Norfolk Area Transit. That makes me very proud of our community. The numbers that we've seen in terms of increased usership basically come from three sources. People using transit to get to work, to get to school, and to get to the doctor. And not just in Norfolk, but in the immediate region. And so I think this is a service that will be very worthwhile and very highly used for years to come. And again, I'm very excited that it's all coming together the way it is with multiple partners at the table and a high level of community support. So thank you, Kareem, for helping guide the process with Olson and DOT. This is all made possible through government grants from the federal and state level and local matches that we provide. But those funds are available, and they're available on a competitive basis, and we might as well be using them to serve our citizens. So again, very proud of the community. Thank you for joining us. Very excited.
Commissioner Troy Euler.
We are one of the rural areas in Nebraska, recognizing the important role of public transportation and the critical impact our drivers, our staff have on the community. In 2019, the American Public Transportation Association reported every dollar invested in public transportation generates $5 in economic return. We recognize this impact, and know Norfolk and the surrounding communities will have service and more mobility options in the future. I'm excited that this is happening. I think you will see in the near future, I think the name says it with North Fork. It's just not Norfolk. I think the intention is to grow this so that we're able to reach out to our outlying communities and get transportation to those that maybe don't have it. Maybe you have a loved one that's aged and needs to get to the grocery store or a doctor's appointment. This will be available in the future for them to be able to get these rides. Think of the burden lifted from you, knowing you'll have safe public transportation. And with that, I'll turn the microphone over to Steve Ramus, the past president for Norfolk Public Transportation. Steve and the Norfolk Public Transportation Board were the masterminds behind the future vision, the name, and the new services we will have. Steve, please join me in celebrating today and tell us more about your new services.
Well, we've had some great comments here from our first two presenters. And what I want to do is just briefly walk you through the history of what brought us to today. Public transportation began with a blue bus, probably about 4 or 5 decades ago here in Norfolk. Transitioned over to the program called Candy Bus. That ran until the mid-90s. Transitioned into Norfolk Public Transportation at that time. And we're here today to celebrate the next chapter for Norfolk Public Transportation as North Fork Area Transit. I want to take a minute here just to recognize some of those that are on our board of directors for transit. Tracy Jeffrey is our current president. Lacey Kimes is our vice president. Next to Lacey, since I see her, Jeannie Dornley. Jeannie is the transit manager for Norfolk Area Transit. Amanda Nipp with Northeast Community College is here. Juan Sandoval is also on the board of directors. Did I miss anybody? Patty Scokin back here is also on our board of directors. So appreciate all of their effort over the last 3 years. You can imagine it's been a lot of conversations, a lot of meetings, there's a lot of planning to get to this point. I also want to recognize the Chamber of Commerce for their presence here today. I appreciate your partnership and what we've been and what we're going to become today, and look forward to a great future here in North Fork and Madison County and surrounding areas. I also want to mention the Department of Transportation and their mobility management team. We couldn't be here today without them. Carrie Bruce is here. Carrie. So Carrie is the leadership from the Department of Transportation, and she has her mobility management team with her here today. All you folks on the mobility management team, so Karine Donahue over here, she's with Olson, so she kind of leads, spearheads that group for us. There's about 4 or 5 different members here from the mobility management team, and again, great effort on their part. They've just been, they haven't let up. And so we've had to sometimes run to stay up to pace with them. Appreciate that.
So with all of our thank yous and everything, the United Way, the Norfolk Area Chamber of Commerce, local city, Madison County representatives, we also have the ambassadors here, and the ambassadors have a few things to give you in a little presentation. It's a curveball. We just threw this right at you.
Members from the chamber gave gifts in there, so we give these out at our ribbon cuttings. And so if you ever want to add anything, feel free to get in contact with the chamber. Thank you so much.
You have 2 hands, but we give you 3 things.
We also have this plaque. May the confidence you have shown in this community and its economy be rewarded with a lifetime of success. Congratulations.
All right, folks, that concludes our program for today, so please join us for refreshments and come take a look inside the vehicles and the facility before you leave. Thanks a lot.